Hi. Article 370 is done. And it's not about development. It's not. Definitely not only about it. It's about reintegration. It's about reconciliation. I'll tell you how. One, in a single country, two official flags and two official constitutions is not a good idea. Especially when the region is constantly being infiltrated by terrorists resourced from and by a neighboring nation. It gives rise to separatist tendencies. Because symbols matter. Every state in this nation can pass its own laws to deal with its own specific problems. That's federalism. And India is a union of states. But here in Kashmir, because of Article 370, every single political action could be given a separatist hue. Terrorists, separatists, political leaders, the Pakistani state used that to fulfill their own agendas. This had to be stopped. Article 370 had to go. Else reconciliation would have never begun. Political forces would have not allowed it to. There's a reason why Kashmir Valley only has had 2 or 3 families running the show ever since independence. 2. The Kashmir Valley's disproportionate influence in the region was detrimental to the overall health of the region. It's a misnomer that the region is only about Kashmiriyat. Till the reorganization bill was discussed in the parliament, the mainstream narrative never even included Ladakhis. Today it does. The creation of the Union Territory of Ladakh has effectively highlighted the actual spread of the Kashmir Valley and how the region is a lot more diverse than what the usual narratives would have you believe. It's not just Kashmir, it's Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh and the territories occupied by our neighboring nations within them. With this, the issues pertaining to Kashmir are now limited to the valley. It doesn't unfairly influence in the rest of the region, which is a good place to begin with. 3. Security concerns had to be addressed. With the creation of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, law and order and thereby police now comes completely under the Union government. The Jammu and Kashmir police is one of the bravest police forces in this nation. With the army, the paramilitary forces and now the police all working in tandem under a single leadership, the Union government now effectively holds all the cards in its hands. It calls all the shots now, which is actually good if the region ever has to have long-term peace. The assumption here is that a common Kashmiri is just as upset with all the violence as the rest of us. And now with the might of the Indian state unequivocally behind it, the police will have a lot more freedom to perform and act against untoward antisocial elements. 4. India is greater than Kashmir. This had to be made absolutely clear. It's not two nations negotiating with each other. It's one region negotiating with its parent nation. India's sovereignty over the region is non-negotiable. The instrument of accession was signed way back in 1947. It's the same one which was signed by a lot of other princely states, all of which have merged. What makes Jammu and Kashmir so special? Nothing. The only difference is that Pakistan actively sent in forces in 1947 to control the region. India under Jawaharlal Nehru didn't press forward the advantage which it gained while fighting. And he in his infinite wisdom committed to a unilateral ceasefire with Pakistan still occupying 1/3 of the land. Since then, India and Pakistan have had 3 wars, in none of which Pakistan could gain any advantage whatsoever despite having initiated the fight first in all of them. So now it's all proxy war through terrorism. That's a security issue. It has nothing to do with sovereignty. And people bemoaning unilateral decisions conveniently forget our history. We have been having negotiations after negotiations after negotiations after negotiations for over 70 years. They have not worked. There are way too many stakeholders. No one knows who represents whom, and all are pulling in different directions, some of which are gruesome to say the least. How long are we supposed to continue with this? Surely whatever needed to be proved has been proven by now. I am thankful that Sardar Patel didn't have to respond to such blood-baying behavior, else we wouldn't have had the India we have today. And finally, 5. We needed to take a decisive step. The status quo isn't all happy-go-lucky. There is no normalcy where everything is alright. Lives are being lost continuously. In the last 30 years since the proxy war of terrorism began, more than 42,000 innocent people have been killed. Does it seem normal and peaceful to you? Resources after resources have been pooled in, but we haven't seen the requisite results at the ground level. We had been in this limbo for way too long. Something had to give. And if it didn't happen now, with such a massive mandate, with elections even in the region itself being won on the same platform, when was this going to happen? I'm glad Article 370 is no longer relevant. I am glad that we are one nation with one flag and one constitution. Reconciliation begins now. The onus is now upon us to work towards making the region of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh completely integrated and terrorism free. It's on us to ensure there's economic prosperity and a general well-being in the region. At the end of the day, all one wants, it doesn't matter who you are, is to experience life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? We want tomorrow to be more promising than today. This union government is accepting its responsibility of trying to achieve that in Kashmir. They are trying. It may work, it may not work. There will be complications. Of course, there will be complications. Which great endeavor doesn't have that? But look at the alternative that the status quo brought. Think of all the lives that were being lost. Look at how no one else is offering a viable solution. And you'll realize sometimes it takes a courage of conviction to get things done. This is exactly that. I'll see you again soon. Until then, tada.